Welcome to my thoughts on Runaways Season 2, Episode 1, Gimme Shelter. The episode is for ages 12 and up, so will this video be. There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. And, like with every episode of Season 1, I can't quite claim that I loved this episode, but we are still very, very close to it. And I think I'm gonna, well, let's see. I want to start with the YouTube video recommendation, and then we'll get into it. So, if you haven't already watched Anthony Gnulia's video, Metatron, the YouTuber following Shadiversity's footsteps, it is excellent. And we're going to try to keep this mostly chronological with possible exceptions. Yeah, like, it remains the case that, stuff like characters, their interpersonal relationships, their behavior, and personalities and such, romance and such, that really works for me, except for when it doesn't. So, I didn't think they needed to start with such a goofy, sort of mile away joke. Yeah, like, of course, those are not the actual runaways, found within 24 hours. Like, we get it. You needed something to, like, because this is, it's the first episode of a new season. You need to, like, it serves as a reminder, and perhaps also just in case someone somehow tuned into this without having watched any of season 1, I don't know. I just feel like you could have accomplished it just by having, have one of the Pride members call, now I forget his name, but the cop, Flores, and, yeah, just like, you don't even have to, just show him saying, for the 100th time within the last 24 hours since your kids went missing, no, we have not been able to find them, but everyone is looking for them, okay? I will call you when there is an update. And then he, hangs up the phone. And then you cut to the Pride parents, and it's like, I can't believe it. What are we going to do? But no, we got to have the silly, because, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe if you forgot that they gave away their original clothes to Goodwill specifically so that they wouldn't be discovered, maybe. But it's just, I don't know. It, yeah. It reminded me of that bit in Spaceballs where it's like, no, you didn't capture them. You captured their stunt doubles. And I laughed at that when I watched that movie. Here, it just felt really awkward and a weird way to lead into, I mean, this tone is still not always their greatest strength on this show. This is still a story about, like, kids, teenagers dealing with their parents having killed someone, and the parents terrified they're losing their children. Anyway, yeah, then we have the, Mike is introduced, being chased by the Runaways. So I guess so he's currently a runaway to the second power. And yeah, we get the detail that, well, maybe the Fistigons are working again, and that makes them very dangerous. And I will say I did like the thing about, Alex being like, yeah, of course I'm, just as naive as Chase. Oh, hey, I am. Because he also, the money was stolen. 1,500. That is, yeah. Anyway, let's see. I think this might be the episode that most avoided, like, that both featured Lace, but also did not, old Lace. Yeah, but at no point, or certainly very, very little, very, very rarely, showed CG that just does not quite hold up to scrutiny, because there were shots where it was plainly visible, and it was in, frame with human characters. And like, yeah, they were relying on the animatronic, which I maintain is not half bad for this kind of, like, it was a show. Like, if it was a movie, I would maybe have been like, you should probably either just write out the dinosaur, or, if you can't get a bigger budget, or get a bigger budget. But, for something like this, there's enough there. And yeah, ultimately they're not able to catch up, and then, yeah, Molly carries the shopping cart with old Lace. And I feel like in this episode, so we didn't always see if Molly needed a rest right after using her super strength. I mean, certainly it wasn't exactly immediate during the, so that's the, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe someone else should have broken into Gabriella's place, so that it, because I get it. Like, we want the emotional scene of Molly seeing the last survivor of the Nostromo. I mean, of her family, of her blood family, actually, dead. But just keeping in mind, like, in season 1, she would sometimes, like, collapse immediately after using her super strength. I don't know. I guess no, that's the thing. She hasn't had time to practice, at least not since the end. And from what I recall, by the end she was still in need of rest almost right after using her super strength, because they specifically said it's only been 24 hours since the end of season 1. Now, let's see. Yeah, and the that goofy joke of like, "Ugh, we're the worst runaways ever." Like, okay, we get it. Like, it's, yeah. I don't know. I think the show works better when it does lean into the kind of dark stuff, instead of like this, thing of having a bunch of, yeah, jokes like this, surrounding that. Because, for example, I literally have no notes about the entire funeral. I thought it was beautiful, very moving, wonderfully done. Absolutely. I wish more of the show was like that. If the entire show just was that, I'm not saying all of it has to be as sad as that, but was that dedicated to really facing the issues that it brings up. Because, like, it is choosing to be a show about runaways, teenagers who ran away from home. I get that they're worried that they're going to alienate, or get like angry, parent calls or something if they go too dark. But, in that case, maybe just tone down a little bit, because some of the things that are on the show so far also don't really need to be there, strictly speaking. They chose to include that. I mean, I can imagine it's in the comic, but someone somewhere chose to include it in the show as well. Anyway, yeah, I will acknowledge that it is very tropey to have this thing of like, oh no, she knows so little about that world that she naively, she says to the whole world, oh yeah, I have proof of criminal activity. And it's like, that's obviously going to draw, negative attention. But yeah, I don't know, I do really appreciate, like, it's yeah, Molly losing even more, but they get a lair by the end of the episode, and they do still have each other, so there's something they can do there. Molly really does get put through the ringer on this show. Like, I'm not sure I would say any of the others lose quite as much as she does. Now, I think the very next thing was the let's see. So we have the no, yeah, I think that's when they go to the, so yeah, there's the Pride parents, go to the, or yeah, Pride leadership all go So there's one building, and some of the workers that are like, I thought they forgot this even existed, and we're told, oh, they've got like a special, or not unbeknownst to the people who work there, but the Pride leadership all know there's this, it's this control center where they can scan with the kids, and I'm guessing that's gonna pay off in an upcoming episode, because it sure didn't here. Like, it just functions as a place where they can be, and Jonah doesn't hear what they and not to mention Frank, but yeah. Let's see. I think that is when they start talking about, the yeah, Gabriella, and yeah, I still don't love the way that so there's still this sort of tension between, like, they want to have, layered characters, but they also really rely on stereotypes sometimes. So, yeah, Jeffrey is still like, oh, well, you got to do what you got to do, so I'll just get my gun out. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. And then it also kind of weirdly, like, it's almost like the episode itself agrees with them, because Gabriella was armed. She just didn't have the gun ready the moment they walked in the door. But, like, I don't know, that felt a little bit to having their cake and eating it too. And I think my least favorite thing, other than just how much time they spend chasing down Mike on bike, both him and them, that, yeah, boy, did that take forever. But yeah, listen, I'm afraid I can't look. There's some thing with IMDb right now. It's not responding. So I'm going to have to go off memory. I believe his first name is Kevin. I think maybe Weissman. He plays Marshall Flinkman on Alias. And I forget the character name here, but he is funny. You don't have to, like, hard sell him being funny. Giving him this many lines in, I believe, Spanish, it's just like, I would definitely say cut out at least a third of them. It just kept going. Like, someone in the writer's room clearly loved that, or I guess it's not impossible, it's maybe like improv or something, but there should not have been anywhere near that many. And yeah, we have the kind of weirdness of, so she tells the press, she can't, the press tells the press, yeah, I have, evidence, and then she destroys the evidence instead of giving, because, like, the thing is, you literally could have just had her say that she already sent that to the police or something like that, and then it's maybe revealed that she was bluffing. She had hidden it somewhere in her home so they wouldn't find it, and they do, maybe through magic, for example, Tina, but no, instead she's the one who destroys the tape instead of sharing it with anyone at all, which just feels like, she specifically says she talked to Flores, so why didn't she give the tape? Like, it just, because that wasn't seen in season 1, was it? Because I guess, well, let's see, Flores does work for, see, that's the thing, like, they specifically remind us, oh, the cops are in Pride's pocket, so have her hand over the tape and no one takes it seriously, or something like that. There's no good reason for her to destroy it, especially if it's going to be viewed by Pride anyway. Just, yeah. And yeah, just, I'm sorry, but the scene ends with her choking to death because of magic, and is then followed by her corpse being found by, Molly, the one living relative. Like, why are you playing this scene so goofy? Them trying to hide behind, and the, slow reloading. And why is she shooting parts of her own home? It just, yeah. I don't know. I think I've made my point about that. I did really like the thing with, so they're like, yeah, they're talking about transportation, and Molly's like, I've been using public transportation, so we have to take the yellow line, then the red line, then another yellow line. Okay, so those those last two are not buses, they're technically trains. But of course, we have to do it in reverse because that would be, just like, I'm sorry, she remains adorkable. That is, I remember being a teenager and being super excited the first time I tried something that really made me feel like, oh, I'm becoming an adult, like, public transport all on my own, kind of thing. Like, just that was genuinely fun. And then they're like, yeah, well, we can't actually use public transport for several different reasons, so just, yeah. And yeah, the thing with, the I bet that guy can go anywhere he wants. Yes, he can. And, they don't even verbally have to discuss it. We just use cinematic shorthand to convey, oh yeah, I mean, dude looks so much like Chase, so, and yeah, I'm glad that they have found a way to be just friends now that it's clear they're not going to end up a couple. But yeah, Chase, and I'm so sorry I do not remember her name, and as mentioned, IMDb is not working right now, for me at least. But yeah. Worst part is, it's right on the tip of my tongue, but for some reason refuses to make that leap. I don't know, I guess it's scared of the water or something. But yeah, she the blonde character, the former Gibborim, daughter of Jonah. She and Chase, bicker, and it's such a great, because like, or present to rather, because like, if you're the guy staying there, handing back keys, are you gonna like take an extra second to check, wait, is this really the person who gave me the keys 5 seconds, because like, they're already like, do you really want to get caught up in that crap storm? Like, no, obviously not, and the thing with like, the stereotyping really worked for me, because you got the thing like, she says, you're a dick, and he's like, no, I was just being nice, which is the opposite of being a dick, which, like, holy crap, that is such a cishet white guy excuse for cheating on someone. Like, wow. And yeah, they drive up to the rest of the Runaways, and they become driveaways instead. And yeah, that was genuinely great. And I do really appreciate that they don't have jokes. Like, even I was I'm relieved that there was not a joke with Gert. Like, she's hyperventilating, but they don't like make light of it. It is just that this is a painful, powerful moment for these characters, Right. Okay, so we do technically have the thing about like, really, you're robbing a corpse, but at least it is immediately followed up with the line, this is what our lives are like now, like it or not. There are many things one has to do if living on the street to survive, And I think, I think I completely skipped over the entire soup thing. Yeah, that was my second least favorite. At least it culminated in Chase saying, everybody stop saying soup, because like, yeah, he was channeling the audience in that exact moment. But yeah, and I did think it worked well, this thing of like, there's still disagreement. There's the thing of like, okay, we better split up. No, there's strength in numbers. And it's specifically Alex and Nico disagreeing on account of, yeah, we know why. And from season 1. And let's see, we get a little bit of a reiteration, again, reminder. And yeah, if you didn't watch season 1, you can more or less follow the episode, just barely. You got to really be on your toes to catch everything, but this is just barely, in the episode and in the previously on. And let's see, yeah, the point about, is it okay to eat soup that comes from, terrible people? Should you take blood money? Should you eat blood soup? And yeah, I did quite like, there was the thing about like, soup has no inherent moral value, and then I think it was Nico who says, neither do our parents. That was a good line. That was a good back and forth there. And that is when we get to the yeah. So Pride talks, and they go over. Tina's just proud of the obituary she wrote, and the others are like, "I thought we weren't gonna kill people anymore." And I mean, that is genuinely an interesting. I don't know, an interesting conflict. I don't know how much of the season it's gonna make up, but yeah, like it is this thing of like, do the ends justify the means? Because they want their kids back. They want the only way that they'll be reunited with their kids. Step one, stay out of prison. There's no way that it's gonna. Or like, I mean, worst case scenario, they end up in prison and that gets like televised, which America probably would. Would the kids try to sneak into jail to visit them and get caught and then get put in prison themselves? So it's a yeah. But at the same time, it's like you really couldn't have found another solution for so genuinely, and I do, we are still seeing Tina is she does remain a very ruthless person, because like, could she really not have said, like, I mean, she, yeah, the it feels like there were options there. Now I think the yeah, we also have the thing about the now it's going to be yeah, the thing with oh, I guess, let me guess, Tina, you're going to be in charge. No, you can lead with me. That's such a great, that's something dictators have actually done in real life. Historically been like, this person's really going to make it difficult for me to rule single-handedly, so I'm going to give them a position of power so that you know they're probably going to want power more than that, and maybe they'll think, oh, they can keep an eye on me, and if they complain, I can call them a hypocrite. Maybe claim it's projection. And I feel like that pretty much covers that. Right. And then we have the thing with like, I thought we were leaving Pride. We were done with Pride. And he's like, well, we have to find our kids first. Then we'll take care of Pride after that. Yeah. And I believe that gets us to the, yeah. I I did like seeing Jonah go through the back door into, I do not remember his name, but yeah, killer fathers. That was also funny. The thing with like, if my dad found out, he would kill me again. That was genuinely, because the thing with that joke is it underlines how wonderfully absurd this is. Like, these are comic book, stories. So yeah, I felt like that really worked. Yeah. Let's see. And so he's not quite dead, but and we're told, this was before his father left, and well, he didn't what was it? He didn't drink at work, so his coworkers liked him. Little details that help us understand him and his treatment of Chase. Now, let's see. I think essentially it's this thing of like, his father was out of control, so he tries to be hyper controlling, and he doesn't want his son to end up, like, essentially in his mind, if he does not keep what's it called again, tight reins or something on his son, it's just a matter of time before his son becomes an alcoholic, just like his father was. So but instead he just becomes a different brand of bad parent. Sadly, it can be very difficult to break out of a cycle like that. At most, you alter it like this. And yeah, eventually Jonah hops back out, and we get a little bit more remindering, and it's made clear, yeah, like they might be able to save him, but and I don't know if we're going to see it more. I wouldn't mind, especially if every so often they come up with a completely different setting. That could be a lot of fun and good period detail, frankly. But yeah, he hops back out, and it's like, oh, so to get there he traveled via like a Timo grid. Not bad. And yeah, I can never run out of positive things to say about Julian McMahon. I mean, ultimately, anything I say about this episode and him in it is stuff I've said before. So in my videos on season 1. So yeah, we're just gonna move on. I think that does pretty much cover. Yeah, one of the things I really appreciate about the burial was this completely non-judgmental depiction of a religion other than Christianity, or a belief system, at least. This Wicca prayer. Like, at no point does anyone, because like you could just see how you could have one of the homeless people say, oh, that's such a sweet Christian prayer, and then someone says, actually, she's Wiccan, and the homeless person would be like, oh, I have somewhere else to be, or something, like that. That would tonally fit the other bad jokes in the episode and the show. But no, it's just, and a bunch of people actually stand there and grieve. People who've never met her, just because they understand that it's sad when people die. And yeah, we need more American media that acknowledges that doesn't make light of it. And it was very sweet that one of the things put was I think it's the trans flag. It's certainly one of the LGBTQ plus flags, but I cannot quite remember if it is that specific one. But yeah, I think that pretty much. Or wait, no, I guess it's like the classic flag, the one that is like representing all of them. I think because it's the full rainbow, more or less. Yeah, moving on. That does bring us. I'm trying to avoid getting the sun directly into my face. At some point, I'm gonna have to. What are they called again? Curtains. I'm gonna curtail the curtains. I think that pretty much. But yeah, I did think overall this was a pretty good season opener because, like, yeah, maybe there will maybe the earthquakes will be big is what I mean, because the end of the episode is the earthquake. And yeah, we're seeing Pride, the way that they're trying to maneuver this situation, because it has changed. They only became Runaways at the very end of season 1. That was like when they fully became Runaways, and we see Jonah's priorities, and we get the thing about, like, well, you didn't say anything about repairing it. Yeah, but does that mean he doesn't need to? Like, did we already screw it up? And yeah, so she goes to talk to Jonah to get answers and specifies that that's the only reason why. And he already knew that, and he's seemingly okay with that, and yeah, that is also a dynamic that I look forward to more of. And yeah, and she's right there when the quake happens, so she might tell him, this is because of the. Maybe that's why the tape was destroyed, so he can't see it, because like they were the ones who discovered this, and I'm not sure he knew that that's what they discovered. It was just that they knew something and were gonna tell someone, or something like that. Other than that, yeah, the entire layer discovery, I did enjoy seeing them, go exploring, and yeah, the thing about, like, I just bought these tents. Well, you can sleep in a tent if you like, and yeah, let's test the stairs before we bring a dinosaur on them. See, that again, like, that's a pretty ridiculous joke, but it kind of worked. It's and it's already a scene that is not like super sad. Like, it's almost kind of celebratory, and I think that does more or less cover. Yeah, I did also appreciate the thing of like, it wasn't if I recall correctly, the previously on did not show that she could fly, just that she had the power to do something with, where she, boy, does that effect still not look great. But yeah, and so she falls through, and in case you forgot, you might be like, oh, did something happen? But like, no, I mean, she can fly. She's fallen off way worse. Um, things, not like as a in her. Well, I guess I don't know. Her being a runaway is not exactly what she always hoped to be. I presume. But I think that does, yeah. So I'm still not loving. So I appreciate that there is a heart of gold beneath the tough exterior of the guy. Although he does also get blackmail material on Alex, and it's this thing of like, he was helping Alex because it messed with Jeffrey, but he doesn't trust anyone from that family. So he got the DNA evidence, and this idea of, yeah, he's like, well, I'm having a kid. Of course, we're going to prepare a nursery. But he's still making these misogynistic remarks. And I don't know. I mean, she was less of an obnoxious stereotype this episode. And like I did really appreciate her concern is completely justified. She's like, so you brought someone that every cop in the entire state is looking for into our house where our child will sleep. And the little bit of potential romance between Alex and, I'm just going to try, Lil? Was that what they called her? I'm sorry. I am sometimes really bad at remembering names. Lil or Viv or something along those lines. And yeah, the thing with, she didn't even look up, and she's like, no, I trust my sister. And then Alex is like, oh, I don't actually mind. And, she's like, well, hello there. Which, like, yeah, I mean, fair enough. They're both, charming people. So it's no wonder that they would fall for each other. And yeah, that was also an expectation subversion where, like, I respect the effort they put into it. I did actually fall for it, 100%, hook, line, and sinker. But yeah, like this thing of like, oh, we think he's gonna be made to kill someone, but he's just there to paint. And I don't know. A for effort. The thing with like, oh, you better put this on so that you're not going to get all messy. And once you do this, you're going to be a man. Because, like, we assume the worst because we know who this guy's past. But, like, yeah, you don't want to get paint all over your clothes, do you? Like, that's a really, it's very, very difficult to get back out. Like, in some cases, absolutely impossible to and it's not like he's overflowing with clothes. This is a bad situation to have to go out and get new clothes and possibly be recognized or something. And I do agree. Like, I don't think it has to be taking, helping take care of a, a baby, which is, by, uh, I don't know. I feel like it logically follows that you could call it that because he's helping prepare the nursery, but I'm not saying it has to be that, but for sure I agree that something that makes you an adult is responsibility and doing something that's going to make life better for someone else. And yeah, let's see. I think that does pretty much cover the entire episode. And okay, I'm just very, very quickly going to mentally fast forward through the entire thing just to make absolutely sure that I didn't miss anything. Let's see. So there's the, yeah, I don't know. So I very much liked the thing with, yeah, the talk about like, Nico did a great job on the funeral, and the thing with like you help a lot around here, and they kiss, and it's genuinely sweet. I am 100% on board with these two couples. And it was a little funny when, so yeah, like I thought what Chase did, I thought Gert was suggesting, but no, she's like, no, you're going to babysit Old Lace, he's like, okay, whoa now girl, and Old Lace is not having it, that was a little funny. I think that might just about come. Yeah, and I like that Chase, he's trying to make things right. He appreciates he screwed up. Yeah, that is the episode. So I'm very excited for more of it. I do hope that comes through. It is, yeah, I am invested in the story and the characters. Right, I like the bit where, I think it's Kevin Weisman's character's like, and that is why Frank is never going to be a member of Pride, because he's like, oh yeah, I'll talk to the press, and it's like, no, you won't. That's a terrible idea. And I think that does, yeah. Oh right, it was also kind of silly, the thing with like, so it talks, well, they do. They? You mean there's multiple? Can we just get past this ridiculous thing where some people are like, no, they can only be plural. It cannot be singular. Like, so I already recommended the recent-ish Gimme Dodger video where he reacts to Piers Morgan on Jubilee. But, one of the things there was Piers insisting, they can only be plural. And Jamie just notes that the first time they was used as singular was apparently, what was it, 1,300 and something. Like, it's, it's been around for quite some time. Like, it genuinely, like, I think the transphobia play to stubbornly insist, and some of these transphobes have been saying it for years now, despite multiple, like, very, like, evidenced corrections. They keep insisting, no, they is plural. It is, by default, it is never ever singular. That is such a perfect example of bigotry brain rot. Like, people just stop processing information when they are sufficiently hateful towards some minority. Like, I'll just very briefly, I know I've said it before, but I feel it bears repeating. If hypothetically someone you care about said, oh hey, my cousin just came to visit, would you ask, oh really? What's their name? Or would you ask, what is his or her name? Be honest, you would almost definitely say they. Like, the other thing is just awkward. Just, we've been using they, a singular, when we don't know the gender for so long. Why is it a problem the moment that someone says that they don't identify as a man or a woman and would like to be referred to as they? Like, it's such a silly, you're literally just being asked to apply a word that you've been using for as long as you've been speaking English to refer to something that you're not used to. And again, we already use it in a gender neutral sense. It's just, when I grew up, I didn't know that there were people who identified as they, them. And then I found out, and yeah, there was a period where I had to remind myself, right, it's they, them. And then I got there, and I don't remember. It's been a very long time since I last accidentally misgendered anyone, and I've never purposely misgendered anyone. But yeah, like, you make the effort, and like, listen, I am sometimes terrible at learning new things, but you make the effort, because like, it's important to the LGBTQ plus community, and frankly, a lot of cis transphobes, if they get misgendered, they get as or more angry than trans people. And I guess I should say and non-binary, because I've heard that there is some contention over whether or not non-binary technically falls under the trans umbrella. You know, it is part of that identity, I mean, is part of the LGBTQIA plus, you know, but the whether or not it is part of trans, that is, there's some debate there. Yeah, I think that does. So, to be clear, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to suggest, you know, because like we found out near the end of season 1, you know, oh, there's something living down there, and now I don't remember them saying in season 1 at least. I think it's only in this episode that it's said there might be more than one thing living down there, you know, and you know it's life, Jim, not as we know it, not as we know it, not as we know it. It's a good idea to say there might be multiple, and you know, oh, maybe Jonah's an alien and the things down there are aliens, and what is the plan there? What are they going to do? You know, that is genuinely interesting. I'm really, really excited to find out more about that, and I do think the first season did overall a pretty decent job of this gradual feed of information. I was thoroughly invested throughout the entire first season. I want to know more about what's going on, you know, and what I'm saying is, I don't think that they should have used the word they to signify it. You could have just had the exchange be, so you're saying there's someone alive down there? Well, some ones, we don't know how many there are. There you go. Then you don't have this awkwardness of, because like before, you know, one of the characters said, so it speaks, and then the other, you know, one of the scientists was like, well, they, like, I'm sorry, as soon as I heard that, I was thinking, well, yeah, I mean, if they're living, if they have a concept of gender, it's a little rude to just presume that, it's rude to refer to them as it if they are sentient, you know? Like it, I mean, if you're gonna say that about like a germ or a virus, yeah, you know, but I mean, you're talking about like these might be intelligent aliens and you're gonna, it feels off to me, you know? A machine isn't it. If it was a robot without gender, without concept of gender, sure, you can go with it, but there's really not any reason to assume that there's no gender, because they're talking about like this, you know, whatever's alive down there might have a relationship with Jonah, and Jonah certainly, like, I mean, we don't know if this is what he always looked like or if he took human form, but certainly he comes across masculine, you know, so he has a gender. Why wouldn't they down there as well? And I've officially become the friend who's too woke. I mean, 10 years ago, but maybe some of you only realized by the end of this video. Anyway, yeah, in closing, I definitely do think, you know, when Tina was, you know, she could have used her magic in any way against Gabriella. All she had to do was stop her from attacking the others so that they could jab her with the memory erasure juice. And she goes, choke. And I do appreciate the sadness of losing Gabriella, and I think they did just enough to make, like, I remember her. I thought, well, she's so sweet, you know, she really cares about Molly. So I'm not saying that I am necessarily insisting that the character had to survive. I just think the fact that, you know, it's noteworthy that Tina is still that ruthless, that she is still, you know, her opening move is to kill. You know, she holds up the wand and says choke rather than, I don't know, jazz hands.